welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us Napoleon Hill's Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, and our goal today is really to cut through it all.
Yeah, pull out the core wisdom, the stuff that can, genuinely make a difference in how you approach success.
Exactly.
So our mission, let's say, for this deep dive is exploring Hill's main idea that financial success and, inner peace aren't really separate goals.
Right. They're like two sides of the same coin.
Precisely. And we want to unpack the principles he offers, the sort of actionable things you can use to actually achieve both, not just chase one or the other.
What jumped out at me right away was that he's not, just talking about making money.
Mm-hmm.
He's emphasizing a whole value system where your kind of mental state actually powers your financial success.
And it's interesting that he came to this through his own struggles, his own trial and error, finding that balance.
Definitely adds weight to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's really get into this.
Let's do it. So first up, a really foundational idea from Hill, the importance of living your own life. And that starts with truly understanding your own mind.
Okay.
He argues that, real success comes from that self-awareness, living authentically, not just following some path someone else set out.
He uses that great example, Thomas Edison.
Yeah.
People initially called him addled, basically said he couldn't learn, but he, obviously proved everyone wrong. He took charge of his own path.
And crucially, took charge of his own thinking. And importantly, he knew how to leverage the skills of others, right? He didn't do it all alone.
Imagine if he just accepted that label. Think what we'd have missed.
It's a powerful thing for listeners to consider, isn't it? Your own potential. Once you really get a handle on your own mind and choose your direction, Hill even talks about what he calls spiritual defenses in the mind.
Spiritual defenses? What does he mean by that?
Think of them less like literal walls and more like your developed ability for critical thinking, for emotional regulation.
Okay, like mental filters.
Exactly. They help you filter out negativity, protect your mental energy, kind of like a firewall, maybe.
Got it. And that connects to his idea of the guardian princes of the mind. It sounds a bit, grand.
It does, but it's metaphorical. He personifies these principles, like the Prince of Peace of Mind or the Prince of Financial Security.
So they're like internal reminders or guides.
Pretty much. Personalized principles to help you stay discerning about the thoughts you let in, keep you aligned with your actual goals.
Yeah, he suggests that this self-knowledge lets you, quote, wipe out a record of failure.
Yeah, it's about mentally clearing the decks. Becoming receptive to new possibilities, not being weighed down by past mistakes.
He tells that story about the guy who was completely broke.
The dead broke man, yeah. Through guidance, understanding his own mind, finding his direction.
He became a millionaire in just 4 years.
It really highlights how powerful that internal shift can be, and it ties into Hill's idea of success consciousness.
Like it's contagious.
Almost, yeah. Something that can be kind of instilled or passed from one mind to another.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift to the second big theme. Mastering money and finding real financial security.
Right, and Hill poses that really critical question. Are you mastering money, or is it mastering you?
That hits home.
And his focus is clear. True wealth isn't just the bank balance. It absolutely includes that inner peace we talked about.
Yeah, peace of mind is part of the equation.
He even observed that the millionaires of his time were often less flashy than maybe in earlier eras.
Suggesting a shift in what wealth means. Less outward show, more inner satisfaction.
Perhaps, and he gives that stark example of the man who went bankrupt.
Oh, despite owning a warehouse full of valuable antiques.
Exactly. It just drives home that piling up stuff doesn't automatically equal security or peace, which really makes you ask.
What is enough for you personally?
Right. Hill says it's subjective. It's tied to your personal feeling of contentment, of security.
And he really stresses the importance of honest work for self-fulfillment.
Absolutely. He contrasts it with the potential issues for people who just inherit wealth without working for it.
Like that cautionary story about the two sons.
Yeah, who inherited a fortune, never worked, and just wrecked it all. And it deeply impacted their father's well-being, too.
So earning your way builds more than just wealth.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, Hill doesn't just philosophize. He gives practical steps for building income. What were some of those?
Well, he outlines a few key strategies, and they all seem to center on creating value for other people.
Okay.
Like first, helping others succeed in their ventures. That can circle back to benefit you.
Makes sense.
Second, showing people how they can get, more value for their money through what you offer.
Uh-huh.
And third, being that effective link between producers and consumers. basically making connections.
So it's very service-oriented, fundamentally.
Seems like it. And beyond just making money, he really hammers home saving and cutting unnecessary spending.
And it's not just about having cash on hand, is it?
Not at all. He argues that the discipline of saving itself has wider benefits. It shows self-control creates opportunities beyond just the dollars and cents.
Right, it builds a certain kind of character, maybe?
Could be. So that leads us nicely into the third theme, which he calls the blessed art of sharing riches.
And this isn't just about writing checks to charity, right?
No, definitely not. Hill's point is that shared wealth, and that includes sharing knowledge, opportunities, support, not just money, it tends to create more wealth overall.
Oh, so?
Well, he points to the growing number of millionaires in his time as evidence that when wealth spreads, it actually generates new avenues for success for lots of people.
Like a rising tide lifting all boats.
Kind of. And he also brings it right down to the home level, emphasizing sharing within the family for harmony and peace of mind.
He gives some interesting examples, like Henry Ford's big gift to the Martha Berry School.
Yeah, although he adds that interesting note about the school initially struggling to handle such a huge, maybe impractical gift.
Right, the learning curve there. And then there's Henry Crown's fund, teaching students how to actually manage capital.
That's quite forward-thinking. And he contrasts these with some older industrialists.
Who were maybe less inclined to share profits with their workers? A different mindset.
Definitely. Hill's core message seems to be that sharing often brings back unexpected rewards and fosters personal growth.
Okay, theme number 4. Developing a healthy ego. Now, ego can sound negative sometimes. How does Hill frame it?
He defines it as the self-assertive tendency of man. So it can be a source of strength, of drive.
But it can also get in the way if it's not sort of balanced or positive.
Right. He mentions the old idea of dressing well to boost your ego, but then immediately counters it with the story of Edwin C. Barnes.
Ah, yes, the guy determined to work with Edison.
Even though he apparently looked pretty rough when he showed up. It shows that a strong inner belief can override the superficial stuff.
Absolutely. And Hill stresses you have to sell yourself on your own value first before you can sell anything to anyone else.
Believing in your own product, essentially.
Exactly. He tells that story about the insurance salesman.
The one who'd been struggling for a long time.
Yeah, until he had this kind of ego restoration, regained his self-worth, and then suddenly started writing a record number of policies.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What limiting beliefs are we holding?
Yeah, for sure. And Hill gives examples of turning perceived liabilities into assets, like his own son Blair's hearing impairment, or Edison's deafness.
Using challenges as fuel, almost.
Yeah. And then there's that slightly unusual story of Ray Cunliffe.
The one who bought the car and the mink coat.
Right. He used spending as a sort of prescription to shake off what Hill called poverty consciousness and get his ambition firing again.
Interesting tactic. Maybe not for everyone, but interesting.
The underlying point, though, is that a healthy ego filled with self-confident faith basically attracts success.
Okay. Theme 5 takes a bit of a different angle, transmuting sex emotion into achievement power. What's he getting at here?
Okay, so Hill suggests that the powerful energy connected with sex emotion can actually be redirected, transformed into this dynamic drive for achievement in other areas of life.
So not suppressing it, but channeling it.
Exactly. He emphasizes it's more than just physical. It's a fundamental creative force. It can add passion and intensity to whatever you're doing. Think of it maybe less literally and more metaphorically.
Okay.
Like harnessing the power of a strong current, that raw intensity, and directing it into focused effort on your goals.
He mentions historical figures known for strong drives. Washington, Franklin, Lincoln.
Right, suggesting their success wasn't despite this energy, but maybe partly because they mastered and channeled it.
He even tells that anecdote about Dr. Elmer Gates flashing ideas through intense focus.
Yeah, possibly linked to that kind of transmuted energy. And Hill makes a point to say this doesn't interfere with the natural expression of sex itself. It's about tapping into that underlying energy for broader purposes.
Fascinating, if a bit abstract. Okay, moving to theme 6, the magic power of belief.
And he calls this the supreme secret. That's a big claim. Why so much emphasis on belief?
Because Hill is absolutely convinced it's the key. The foundation for unlocking your mind's potential, for turning ideas into, well, reality.
He suggests that if your belief is strong enough, goals can be achieved in ways that seem almost miraculous.
Yeah, by tapping into natural forces that he believed are available to everyone. He even thought deeply held beliefs could cause physical changes in the body.
Wow. And he offers autosuggestion as a practical way to cultivate this belief, especially for financial goals.
Exactly. It's a very deliberate process he outlines. 6 steps.
Okay, what are they?
1, state precisely what you want in writing. 2, really believe you can attain it. 3, vividly visualize yourself already having it.
All right.
4, write down that statement. 5, read it aloud twice a day with real feeling. And 6, create a plan and, crucially, act on it consistently.
So it's not just wishful thinking, it involves action.
Definitely not just wishing. He uses examples like art models seeing TVs in supermarkets way before it was normal.
And McVicker, the Play-Doh guy, people thought he was crazy at first.
Right. It shows how that unwavering belief, even against skepticism, can lead to amazing things.
And faith, he says, helps emotionalize the thoughts, bring them into the physical world.
It all comes back to that core statement. Anything the human mind can believe, the human mind can achieve.
Powerful stuff. Okay, final key theme. Enthusiasm and something more.
Yeah, so enthusiasm is presented as this really vital tool for persuasion, for influence, but there's a catch.
What's the something more?
It has to be coupled with a genuine, honest desire to be of service to others.
Okay. Not just empty hype.
Exactly. He tells that story about the 2 letters. One was all self-interest, total failure.
Got no replies.
Right. The other was full of enthusiasm, but focused on how the writer could help the recipient. And that one got replies from big names, like Henry Ford.
It suggests something fundamental about how influential people operate, maybe.
Yeah, Hill suggests, truly, big people are often willing to render service. He points out we're all selling ourselves all the time in different ways.
Trying to get our ideas accepted, get buy-in.
And that often hinges on offering real value.
He also warns against negativity, right? How it triggers bad associations.
Yeah, like the bounce check example, seeing one reminds you of all the negative feelings associated with it. And he stresses enthusiasm needs substance, knowledge, and that genuine desire to help.
Like the salesman pushing the faulty dictaphone, all sizzle, no steak.
Exactly. He'll even give specific advice for job hunting. Show you really want that job, show you're prepared, and focus on the employer's needs, not just your own.
It makes sense. Be genuinely enthusiastic about solving their problem.
Right. He encourages taking a broad look at yourself, your goals, making sure that enthusiasm is authentic.
He even mentions the Golden Rule Industries of America idea.
Yeah, a business concept built entirely on sharing and mutual benefit, even including things like helping prisoners find work. It's quite idealistic.
And finally, just briefly, he touches on religion.
Yeah, just his view that rigid dogma can sometimes hold back the human spirit and that your own conscience should be your ultimate guide.
Okay.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Grow Rich with Peace of Mind, that link is just unmistakable, isn't it? Financial success and inner peace, completely intertwined in Hill's view.
Absolutely. And hopefully for you, our listener, focusing on getting knowledge quickly and thoroughly, these examples and principles have given you some solid takeaways.
Definitely food for thought. So as you go forward, maybe consider this. Which of these core ideas from Hill really clicks with you right now? Is it living authentically, mastering money and peace, the power of sharing, that healthy ego?
Or maybe transmuting your drive or harnessing that magic of belief. Which one feels most relevant to your journey towards a richer, more peaceful life?
And perhaps more importantly, what's just one small actionable step you could take, maybe even today, to explore that principle a bit more in your own life?
Yeah, we really encourage you to check out the book itself, Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. This deep dive, it's really just a starting point for your own thinking, your own exploration of how to apply these powerful ideas.